Everybody, and welcome to Club P. Normally we do our videos outside, but it is so cold outside the day before Thanksgiving. It's like in the 30s right now. We thought it best to move it inside and have sort of a fireside chat for the Thanksgiving holiday. First of all, we want to wish everybody the happiest of Thanksgiving, and specifically want to think about those that won't be around all their family members, and we really think about folks that are temporarily displaced for the holiday, and Debbie and I are going to be that way, so we're going to have to find a Thanksgiving table, and I think we're going out of town to do that. So I wish all of you a very, very happy and wonderful Thanksgiving as you go through your holiday weekend, and we sure appreciate everybody that watches these videos, and thanks for that. So today I wanted to talk about this like kind of little dilemma that's going on in the real estate market that's been hovering around us for well over a year, and all we hear about is buyers who have an interest in purchasing a home, and obviously this is a good time to buy a home when we have interest rates as low as they are. It's still affordable. However, there's a giant demand for basic starter housing, and there's even a giant demand for step-up buyer housing. So there's this really small inventory of homes that has to be a little difficult for folks that are looking for their perfect home. And it seems like, and I was talking to my coach the other day, it seems like most agents, they sit around in their front of their laptops, they wait for a new listing to pop up on the MLS, they call their buyer, they grab them, and they run out to this house to take a quick look at it, or they view it virtually online, and they make an offer on that house, and they discover that they're not the only ones making an offer on that house, thinking that the person that has the fastest car is going to win the house, and then they make offers, and they find themselves getting into a bidding war, and it just turns into this frenzy of insanity. And then, even worse, this is even the most worst dilemma, is that these folks ultimately win the house, and then they get partway through the transaction and find that they overpaid, overbid, the house doesn't meet appraisal, they find that they just get discouraged because they realize, gosh, I'm overpaying for this house, and they back out of the transaction, leaving the seller in a lurch. And here's the reality: buyers will always and have always controlled market values of homes. It's always been the buyer who controls that, okay? Sellers don't control it, and I know that's probably going to raise a couple of eyebrows, but a buyer is only willing to pay what a buyer is willing to pay, and it's that simple. So this whole concept of sitting around waiting for a listing to pop up on the multiple listing service or on Zillow or Trulia or one of these big box sites and running out there and getting into this frenzy, look, this is primitive technology that hasn't been used effectively in 2 years. And it reminds me of 2004, 2005, 2006, before the recession, when buyers were getting this fear of missing out, and they got into these panic purchase situations. Well, blue chip real estate, we don't want you to get into a panic purchase situation. We want you to be able to take the time, the energy, and look at houses for what they are and not overpay. That's the most important part, not overpay, and not settling for the house that's not perfect for you. So here's what we're doing, and we have always done, okay? When you work with us and you're a buyer, we want to know specifically two things. Number one, are you committed? Are you absolutely 100% committed to the purchase of a home? And that's the most important thing, because if you're going to work with us and we're going to work with you, we want to know that you have an interest in making this purchase seriously. Number two, we want specific details on what you want in your home, and I mean very specific, in as much as we're looking at age of the home, condition of the home, square footage of the home, location, school district, all of these things. We want very, very specific needs that you want in your perfect home. And the likelihood of us finding a home just by looking at the MLS that fits into that category for you is virtually zero. It's not going to happen, and it's going to run you into a multiple offer situation that we don't want you to go into. So here's what we do. Once you make a decision and a commitment to work with us, we will go through kind of old-fashioned primitive processes to find you the perfect home, and we don't care what that entails. It doesn't matter to us what that entails. If we have to look at for sale by owners that are willing to work with us, if we have to knock on doors in communities that suit your needs, if we have to look at homes that have been on the market in the past that never got to a closing, we will do whatever we need to do to identify the right home for you, and we will not be using traditional practices that most agents are using right now. We will not be sitting by our laptops, looking at the internet, watching the multiple listing service until something pops up. That's not the way we're going to do it. For those realtors that have been in this business for 30 plus years, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because this is the way we did it back in the day. We're glad to do that for you. We want to do that for you. We want to make sure that you're not put in a position where you overpay and get into a frenzy and a bidding war for a property that you might not be settling for and might not really like. So what does that mean to a seller? Well, sellers, you know, you have kind of an advantage right now, but the big fear that most sellers have is, what's going to happen if I sell my home, Bob, and I get it into contract and I can't find the place that I want to look for? Well, we have an approach for that too, and it's not that complicated. We simply do the same process in reverse. We identify a seller who's willing to sell their property to the perfect buyer for the right price, and we want to make sure that all the processes that we normally would go through are worked out in advance. And what we really want to try to do is get the seller to agree that we need time to help you identify your replacement property. That doesn't happen overnight. So we just simply try to extend your closing period. Instead of doing it in 30 days or 45 days, maybe we look for 60 days, maybe we look for 90 days, maybe we look for a rent back on your property. The bottom line is this: we don't want our clients, sellers or buyers, running into positions in places that they don't want to be. And if we have to do it using non-traditional and maybe primitive processes that haven't been around since the 60s and the 70s, we're going to do it. That's what our commitment to our consumers are. So if you're interested in getting into a buyer position like that or a seller position like I just discussed, please reach out to me at 910-854-0800 or go to info@bluechip-re.com. That's info@bluechip-re.com, and I would love to talk to you about this process. And again, wishing everybody, all of our friends, our family members, our clients, and anybody that we come in contact with, wishing you a very, very happy Thanksgiving weekend. And let's be grateful for the things that we've got in place in our lives that we might not even recognize. It's always a pleasure, and thanks for watching this video.